everybody. Today is the 53rd day of the Juice Feast. And this is Melinda with raw-wisdom.com. And tonight I want to talk a little bit about death. Now, I had a friend over here the other day, and she has a 17-year-old girl from Germany visiting her, and when she went to Germany, she brought the girl back with her. Now the girl has to go and fly home alone, and she's terrified to fly home alone. So I asked her, what are you afraid of? And she said she was afraid that she would die. And I said, well, if that's the worst thing that could happen, what's so bad about dying? And for her, dying is, she's terrified of dying. And I thought that was interesting that for me, I think probably when it's your time and you die, it would be a good time, an opportunity to pass over into a new realm that probably isn't nearly as difficult as it is here. My mother used to say, when you pass over, all the people that have gone ahead of you throw a big party, and they're all excited to see you. So I suggest to this girl that the people that she loves on the other side will be there when she passes over. And then she told me that she didn't know anybody on the other side. And so we asked her, what about your grandparents or aunts or uncles? No, she didn't know anybody that was dead. Maybe a cat, she said, that she didn't care about the cat. So I thought that's very interesting. By the time I was 17, the 7 major adults in my life were on the other side. Both sets of grandparents, both of my parents, and the housekeeper. And these were all people I was close to. So my experience was quite different than this girl's. And since then, I've watched a lot of my friends die. My husband passed away just a year after we got divorced. And then I got a new partner, and he passed away 2 days after he moved to Charlottesville. So I have other friends that have passed on. And working as an occupational therapist, I had several patients also that I worked closely with that passed over. So I am not unfamiliar with death. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I did get scared I was going to die. And I remember that I went out to Leonard Orr's. His wife was going to show me how to make Hoxie, a tea that's good for, they use with the Hoxie Clinic, and that Leonard uses as a way to keep himself from well, he has cancer, skin cancer. He's trying to overcome it. And he's done a pretty good job, because the type of cancer he should have been dead a long time ago. But one thing was this Hoxie drink, and also she was showing me how to make sprouts, both wheatgrass and other sprouts. In fact, I bought a sprouter from her. But on my way over there, I almost had an accident. I mean, the car spun around, and I remember my life was like this close. Also, the day I was diagnosed was the first murder that occurred that year in Charlottesville, and it happened to have taken place in the parking lot right outside my window. Now, the other thing that happened was I set up my appointment with the doctor, and I tried to set it up so that I would have create as much love around me. It was the second doctor I was going to see, and so I asked Lewis, my partner for attitudinal healing. We taught classes for many years in Virginia. I asked him if he would come with me, and I remember he said, yeah, he'd love to come with me. Now, he was also my anatomy and physiology teacher, so he could explain any technical, medical, anything that they might bring up. So the day before we were supposed to go to the hospital for the doctor's appointment, Lewis called me and he said, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to make it tomorrow. And he said, I'm sorry, I'm in the hospital now. He said, I think I'm having a heart attack and they want to keep me for observation. So I thought, that's strange. So he was okay. He did have a heart attack. So I went to the doctor by myself that day. But it seemed to me during this period that death was just like real close. Sometimes I think death is close. And my reaction was I wasn't ready to leave. I thought I had a little bit more to do here. And I remember a friend of mine gave me a book about Emmett Fox. Emmett Fox was a New Thought. I think they called it New Thought back then. He was a minister, and he taught the Golden Key. And I really believe in the Golden Key. The Golden Key is the scientific way of prayer. And what you do is you state a prayer of what you would like. You don't focus on the problem at all, just on what you want to occur. And then you focus on God. So that's the basic vision for the Golden Key. And so this friend of mine who had introduced me to some of Emmett Fox's works gave me this book, and it was the story of his life. And in that book was Oneonta. And I was moving to Oneonta, but it's like when you first learn a word and you start to see it everywhere. And the story was that Emmett Fox was giving a ministry. He was, giving a sermon. And in the middle of the sermon, this was in New York City, he said, I am going on retreat this week, and I'm not sure when I'll be back to give another sermon. And so at the end of the service, his friends came up to him and said, where are you going? And he said, I'm going to Oneonta. And they said, we're coming with you. So they all piled into a car and they went up to a hotel in Oneonta. And two of them, the husband and wife, took a room, and Emmett Fox took another room. And Emmett said to them, meditate. And if you get any information for me, knock on my door. I'm going to go inside and meditate. So he went into his room, they were in their room. And suddenly, the wife, she gets a message in her meditation that he's going to be perfectly fine. And she knocks on the door and she says, Emmett, you're going to be perfectly fine. And Emmett said, I got the same message. And then they went back to New York City, and apparently he thought he was going to die. And a few years later, he died peacefully in his sleep. So when I saw that, I thought, great, I have a few more years myself in Oneonta. A few good years in Oneonta. Well, I've been here almost 4 years, and I'm still kicking. I'm not entirely content with the weather up here. I would prefer the warmer weather, but the summers are great. It's mainly the winters.